Welcome, Sojourners. You have found yourself a cozy place here at Sojourners Awake. I'm Jonathan, and this is our production of The Bookish and the Brave. In the month of Fontaine, day 17, year 1532, the bookends were in the city of Boshin. But still within Baldtop Library, life is going on as usual. But things are about to change for one character, Asyndeton, a reader, a wearer of yellow at Baldtop Library, one of the highest ranking classes within the Citadel of Learning, only reporting to one Skoda Bookworm, the Master Reader. I hope you enjoy this adventure. And what will Asyndeton learn today? And will it be without incident? And so for now, our story continues. The morning dawns on a cold winter day. As you prepare for your morning of work in Baldtop Library, other readers and wardens bustle about the streets within the domed city. Occasionally a book falls to the ground. A loose leaf scroll gets caught up in the wind. There's never a dull moment here at the library. The lights flicker off as the warm rays of sunshine fill your bedroom. And so begins your morning. When we look into your room, what do we see, and how do you prepare for your day?
Asyndeton is a very orderly person. The first thing he does when he steps out of bed is he turns and he begins to tuck in the blanket, make the corners nice and sharp. He runs a finger across the shelves fastened to the wall behind him to make sure that no dust is collected on the rows of books that appear there. And yes, they're in the right order. He didn't misfile his book as he went to bed last night. He flicks a piece of... No, he doesn't flick it. He picks up a piece of dripped wax from his candle and deposits it neatly outside the window so that it falls to the courtyard below. The floor is a little cold, so he puts on his slippers and his robe he hugs tightly about himself. And he hums a tune to himself as he goes about gathering his clothes for the morning. They're simple clothes, but as he puts on his dark gray robe, ties the belt, he makes sure to put the wooden handle so that it hangs at its usual place where it's within easy reach of his left hand. To the right side of his belt, he hangs a small bag of pebbles. He makes sure that his hair looks good in the metal mirror that's fastened to the wall, dabs at the corners of his mouth to make sure that no drool has stuck to his face. And once he's satisfied that things look good, a quick splash of water, and he's ready for the day.
And so begins your walk beyond the city floors and deep underground into the vaults. Along the way, you catch some news. Recent rumors of ghosts have appeared within Baldtop Library. Most of the witnesses are suspiciously gossiping about this. Many of the wardens are on sharp lookout. This section of the library, the underground vaults, holds unchecked books, requiring your keen mind to comb through them, all of the tomes, until they are fully scrutinized. Within the vault, the air is cool and is warmed by a fixed light station exuding warmth to keep you, the reader, comfortable. Upon your station is a heavy globe glowing a yellow light that matches the yellow reader robe that is hanging in your station, ready for your donning. This globe protects your mind from cluttering thoughts once it is initiated with a touch of your finger. And meanwhile, a stack of books lie there and wait. Always a stack of books lie there and wait for your discerning eyes.
He whispers to himself a chant that is well familiar as he slides on the robe and activates its power. Of the making of many books there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. And he takes the first book, but with a smile, he sets it down and puts it in the book cradle in front of him. You can't stress the spine on the book if you want it to last. And he runs his fingers down the page and begins his work for the day. Although as an added step, in order to protect his eyesight, he mutters some words and a small globe of light appears to his right as well to add extra light to the space.
The space is now warm and well lit, and the yellow globe provides a mental barrier to keep your mind from wandering as you meditate.
I could use one of those.
And as you're reading through the books, you have 3 left. The history of the Mayadaxar Empire, a story of the fallen Dragonborn Empire, how it came to being and how it has evolved in the world of Bonzaro. A black tome, The Toll on the Servants, about the process of binding souls to the items of magic and inertia. And then finally, your last book, One More Thing, a simple handy guide of developing your skill as a writer. Of those 3 books, which one do you respond to first?
Definitely the third one. That is a topic that has enthralled him for many a long year, and he is always on the lookout for ways to improve the way he presents himself.
Excellent. You may make your investigation check.
That'll be a 12. I think I need to turn up the power on my globe a little bit.
Well, you read through it and catch many errors, and in the margins there are plenty of spaces for you to, you discover these inconsistencies within this book. Corrections need to be made before you can stock this book in the library. The margin is bare and ready for your penmanship to enter your edition as a designated reader. What would Asyndeton write in the margins for the next pilgrim or witness that would utilize this book?
Well, this is clearly not well written. Let's see. He dabs the pen into a pot of red ink for the initial letter. And then with a second pen in the black ink, he writes very carefully. Obviously a fool wrote this book. Only one so unlearned would say that one should end sentences with prepositions. In my experience, that is something that is just preposterous. And with a satisfied dot at the end to put a cap on his sentence, he sits back and sprinkles a little sand over the ink that he just wrote on and blots it up to make sure that it's dried and he won't smudge his next sentence.
With the remaining 2 books, suddenly a single footstep catches your ear's attention, and the vault falls silent again. How do you respond?
I take a look. Is it from behind or somewhere else?
It did seem like it was behind, down the hall.
I will shift in my chair and cause the light that I generated to drift behind me to illuminate that area.
Interestingly enough, the light that you generated maintains its potency, but the globe that provides a barrier to distraction suddenly begins to flicker out.
Who's there?
As you turn around, you see that something has disconnected the power to the globe, the barrier globe. Suddenly, you are now susceptible to your own thoughts, distractions, wanderings of attention. And you hear a voice call out, Asyndeton.
Yes?
Silence falls again. Then you hear the voice as if it has stepped away from you, 20 feet down the hall. Asyndeton.
All right, I'll play. I'm coming. And he shuffles easily down the aisle towards the direction of the voice, making the light come along with him.
The voice calls after you beyond a closed door. Above the door, written in runes, forbidden entry, and you notice that the passcode is in orange. This color, of course, indicates that yellows and anyone below that station are not allowed. There is only one person, Skoda Bookworm, who has access into this room. The voice calls from beyond the door.
I reach forth a hand and rap on the door.
As you knock on the door, you feel something gently brush against your leg. You hear a voice. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, what? And I'm doing the lift your leg thing with either leg and looking down. I'm lifting my robes as I do that.
Yeah, and it's good that you did. Your yellow robe goes to the side, and you see that there is a small daisy staring up at you.
As in a flower?
A flower. Her feet have formed from the roots. She is simply hopping, and as she hops, she mimics that same single footstep you heard earlier on.
I'm going to crouch down, again, gathering my robes as I do so. And with a smile on my face, I say, "Good morning, Eye of the Day. How are you?"
Good morning. How am I? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I will say it is a pleasure to see such a bright and sunny flower inside, in a place that's ever so dark all the time.
Make a persuasion check with advantage.
A 30.
What?
I have expertise in persuasion.
Don't even want to know the method behind the magic. It's just beautiful. This beautiful child, resembling a flower, begins to grow ever before your eyes. Her petals extend. The face begins to take on childlike features as she basks in the glow of your person. She receives your light, and that light begins to infuse through her, and she exudes this warmth that you feel in the cool, dark vaults of this cellar. And she smiles and says, "You are now my best friend, and you are the kindest person I have met in my whole life." And then she wraps around the vines around your leg and begins just to hug, indicating that she is bound to you at this moment and will follow you anywhere. Where are we going next?
I take my finger and I run it across one of her leaves at the stem. "That's very kind of you. I suppose you could come with me back to my desk once I figure out what Skoda wants. I suppose he's the one who's calling me. Did you hear a voice from over here, or was that you?"
I did not hear any voices. I was wandering down here because there was light, and I was really hungry, looking for water and nourishment. But your light is enough for me right now. It's enough.
"That's rather effusive, but I suppose I can take you with me." And I lift up the pot, I suppose. She's in a pot,
She is not in a pot.
just growing out of a crack in the floor.
She
Dear.
is moving from side to side. You can see that her roots are trying to reach into cracks, but She is mobile at this point.
Well, then I scoop her up and cradle her in my hand and lift her up to eye level with me as I'm standing smoothly. I shall call you Petal.
Petal? Good. My father calls me Aramante, as does my mother.
Would you prefer I call you that?
With your glow and your energy, Petal is a wonderful name. I've read about it. It's the name they give to Nick.
To Nick?
Yes. Whenever someone is your friend, they call you Nick.
Ah,
and that
that's
is your
right.
name.
Yes. When one name's Nick,
Yes.
I follow you. Well, if you'll just give me a moment, I'd like to make sure that Skoda does not wish to see me, and then we can return to maybe wherever the light is more pleasing.
She looks at the door.
I tap. Skoda!
And Skoda does not answer, but beyond the door, you hear your name, more distant. Asyndeton.
I try the handle.
It moves.
And swing the door open.
The door opens into a gently lit hallway.
I send the light ahead and walk carefully behind it. Not slowly, but just making sure that I'm not going to trip over something and damage my new friend.
She is now kind of wrapped around your shoulder. Her roots have like tugged and fastened onto.
That tickles. Can you move your root just a little bit?
I'm trying to hold on, and then she hangs upside down, and you can see.
Oh, that's worse. Oh, okay. The first place is better.
The roots have now dug deeply into the fabrics of your yellow robe.
Oh, this will make it interesting to clean them, but as long as you're comfortable.
A little dirt gently falls down the side.
Now that won't do.
What is the word you seek? And you see before you a chest that is pressed within a crevasse within a stone wall of this cavern.
I stop and my eyes narrow. What did you say?
It gets quiet.
That is what I thought. And I lean in to examine the chest.
Upon the chest is a vocal lock, requiring a passcode of speech. I would also ask you to make a perception check as well. This will be high number winner.
17.
17. The globe is before you. It is illuminating this room, save for one corner that is bathed in shadow, unable to be cleansed by the light.
I'll shift the globe that way.
The globe disappears into the darkness. The room.
And bring it back.
And the room fills up with light. And then you see at that point a figure, long legs, 4 arms, and a voice that chills you. I am the sentry. You are trespassing. And then you hear a voice say, hold fast, Asyndeton. Please roll for initiative.
Natural 20.
Oh, man.
That's a good time to have it, right?
That is well done. You are first to respond. With this area lit up, this shadow comes before you, and with 4 arms reaches out to punish you for your trespassing. The voice calls out again, hold fast, Asyndeton.
I freeze. I don't move, and I side mouth to Petal. Don't move a leaf.
Well, as you do, the shadow attempts to silence you. You must make a DC 13 charisma saving throw, but you may do so with advantage since you are standing your ground.
22.
One of the arms of the shadow disconnects and goes for your throat, attempting to rob you of your voice. But you succeed, given your strength of will. How does this appear?
The probing fingers of the magic attempting to silence me, I feel them wrapping around my throat like an invisible hand, and I whisper, a word that I have come across in my many studies. It's a foreign tongue, but one that is powerful, even though it's long been forgotten. And I feel the fingers ease from my throat.
Aramonte is now grappling into your robe, deep within it, burying herself, crying out in absolute fear at this clearly evil entity.
Easy. I'm going to cast Calm Emotions. I attempt to suppress strong emotions in a group of people. Each humanoid in a 20-foot radius needs to make a charisma saving throw.
This creature, not being humanoid, but a spirit of the shadow realm,
I see.
will gain advantage on that roll.
Okay.
As will Petal, because she is not technically humanoid. Petal. A natural 1. Petal, instantly swayed by you, just gently, and her petals droop down, and she just goes into this gentle slumber, and then curls up on the nape of your neck, just resting, and you hear her gently start to snore.
Aww.
The shadow, however, with advantage, gets a 20.
Mm-hmm.
Not calm at all. It reaches forward, and it goes with its third arm to grab into your heart. Please make a charisma DC 13 saving throw.
Total of 15.
15. It attempts to rob you of happiness. It attempts to paint a bleak picture on your life circumstance. Nevertheless, you also resist this, much to the dismay of this guardian.
All right. Now that I've resisted 2 of its attacks, I'm feeling a little more confident, and so I straighten up. And with one hand on the roots, on Petal's roots on my shoulder, I cast suggestion, and I'm going to suggest a course of activity and magically influence a creature you can see within range that can hear and understand me. So it's a wisdom saving throw against a 15 for the shadow.
It gets a 3.
Okay. The suggestion must be worded in such a manner as to make the course of action sound reasonable, and I say, stand down.
The remaining 2 arms just drop to the side, and the same way as it approached you, it reverses its steps back into the corner. Maintaining the darkness, you hear a gentle sigh as it obeys your command. You hear the voice again. Asyndeton. The chest remains there, the passcode, waiting.
First of all, I whisper to Petal, sleep, little friend. And then, but not so near to my ear, if you would. And so I lean forward to the chest and I whisper the word, life.
The chest opens up. A message from an unfamiliar voice is now imprinted in your mind, in the most clear tongue for you to understand. The word Warrior Rose comes into your mind.
Warrior Rose.
Yes, like the flower rose. And a 5-pointed star as an image. The chest begins to disintegrate, and you hear another sigh from that same voice. Yes, Asyndeton. You feel this strong connection to this image of this warrior, feminine, a rose growing out of the ground. Strong, defiant, and beautiful. The 5 petals on this rose form a star that exudes this light, and this image, this concept, this idea, this whatever it is now in your memory. The room goes silent, cold once again. How do you proceed?
It's all right, Petal. Why don't we step back out where we belong? And so I carefully turn, don't even look back at the shadowy figure, the guardian, and walk out the door and let it click behind me, and I return to the desk with Petal on shoulder.
As you go back to the desk, you hear a second set of footsteps later on. orange robes arrive, Skoda Bookworm, a tall dragonborn man. He rushes up a little out of breath.
Skoda.
Asyndeton, I did not know you were down here. Is everything okay?
Yes, it is.
There is a breach into one of the rooms. I must see to it.
Is everything all right?
No, did you see anybody come near?
I must admit, it was me.
I'm sorry?
I have been here long enough that you know I am a man of my word. Without veracity, what is a word?
I appreciate this theoretical thought right now, and I appreciate your veracity. Would you please get to the point? Did you see someone?
It was me.
He looks down the hall. He rushes towards the door, see that it has been opened. He takes his time long enough to go into the room and examine the chest. You hear him dispel a sentry.
And I've followed somewhat behind him.
And as you see around the corner, the shadow is dispelled and Skoda comes out, rubbing his forehead. Asyndeton, we need to have a talk. You entered the room. The chest. Where is it?
I relate the things that happened, starting with the ghostly voice, the brush with the sentinel, and then I don't necessarily relate the details of what I saw, but rather that the chest disintegrated in front of me.
That is what I was afraid of. The sentry was there to convince any trespassers to leave. You felt no persuasion to leave, I guess.
I feared that you might have been in that chamber, calling me. The voice that I heard was, well, it may not have sounded exactly like you, but I wanted to make sure that you were not in some sort of danger. And at that point, I would much rather know that you are safe than hold to some rules that really don't mean much when safety is of concern.
He smiles. I'm glad you think that highly of me. I am safe, but I don't think you are. If you would come with me.
Of course. May I clean up first?
Make a persuasion check. He looks very worried.
You're going to quickly move away from persuasion checks with me. That is a 26.
He says, that's a good idea. I can pay attention to any discrepancies. Allow me to watch you clean yourself.
All right, I take off my yellow robe to reveal the dark gray robe beneath, and I'm careful to let Petal adjust to the new robe underneath as I do so. And once the robe is off, I hang it on the chair neatly, making sure that it all hangs straight down. I carefully remove any of the I cap the bottles of ink. I make sure that the sand is back where it belongs. The pens are clean. The books are stacked neatly. The ones that I have finished to the right, the unfinished ones to the left. I believe that's all. If you will lead the way, Skoda.
He smiles at you and says, if I'm trusting my instincts, everything is okay. But what you went into, even I do not understand, which is why it was locked away. This voice that called out to you, we have heard it too, but we have not identified it. Were you able to identify the voice? He stops himself. Don't speak. It's not right for me to take your witness. What you trespassed in was a violation of safety. While I appreciate you looking out for my safety, you have made yourself a target. And to be quite honest, we don't know what you have made yourself into because we don't quite understand it yet. All I know is protocol. We will need to isolate you outside of Baldtop Library. You are immediately removed from your duties, relieved of your duties, because of our history together and your appreciated veracity at all times. I will allow you one quick trip to your room under supervision. You will not speak to anyone. To ensure that nothing breaks past your will, I will put a silent spell on you, and even now. And I'm afraid I cannot give you any last words. But please accept this. And he puts his hand out to you.
I take his hand.
He puts the silent spell on you instantly, lasting for the duration of the day, no longer able to speak or influence anyone with your will. You are led under sentry guard of the wardens. Kalan there supervising you. Kalan doesn't say anything, he just motions to you in sign. You have 5 minutes. How do you spend your last moments here in your room?
First thing I do as I'm being transported is I have tied a piece of cloth over my mouth as a visual so that others know that I cannot speak to them. As I get to my room, I look at my books and select a couple of the smaller, lighter ones that will travel well with me. I have on me most of the things that I already want. I make sure to grab some parchment, some ink, and the various other things that are already on my character sheet. I stand at the window of my chamber in the last minute and look down into the courtyard, and there I see the tree that scholars have fought for space under. And I look and I see where my hand has traced lines on the bark in times past. I sigh silently, take one last smell of the room, and then turn and leave.
As you do, you suddenly feel something slip down your leg and quietly disperse herself into the corner. Sensing the tensing of the situation and losing the luster because your voice is no longer speaking gently, Petal, Aramonte, wanders away quickly, sensing that danger is near. Kalan and the wardens lead you to a small, isolated quarter outside of the Helping Hands workshop in the Bald Top Brew. Kalan leads you into a small, single privy, a very tiny bedroom that is conveniently located beneath the ground, where you'll be kept quiet. Kalan looks at you sadly. He closes the door. There's plenty of time to get comfortable here in this room, and outside you begin to hear, very faintly, a celebration occurring. For this is the anniversary of the founding of Bald Top Library. You hear fireworks shooting up and blasting against the protective dome, creating an array of colors that ripple down like water upon a rock. The food cooks over open fires, and pilgrims and students alike, witnesses and wardens off the clock, dancing in the street. Then you hear a tap at the door.
In my mind, I've been thinking, they've been waiting for me to leave. As soon as I'm gone, they have a celebration and fireworks. I'm not bound in any way, correct? No, okay. Then I stand and go to the door. Is the door secured in some way? Is it locked? I swing the door open. I still have the cloth over my mouth. I haven't yet tested to see if my voice has returned.
You see before you an older henfolk man. He's got very large whiskers coming out of his ears and stubbly face. Excuse me.
I'm looking out above him.
Yeah.
And then,
down here. Well, I just wanted to say, I'm not supposed to be talking to you, but I got to tell you one thing about this robot here. He's a very good servant. He'll bring you your food, your water, and everything. But I've got a little bit of problems with his commands. Now, once your voice comes back, you'll be able to speak food, water, and clean, those 3 words, but sometimes they get mixed matched. So if you ask for food and he brings you water, then you know that the wires have gotten crossed. And again, I got Lalana trying to work on it and everything, but Kalon says we gotta deliver the robot to you now. And all of a sudden walks in this very skinny, warforged mechanical creature, creaking with gears and leaking a little bit of oil, hissing a little bit of steam. And it stands there ready at the attention. And then Old Man Whiskers programs it to walk inside, moving past you. Hey, it'll stay there too. Eventually I'm gonna teach it how to open doors. Once my buddy Hawkins gets back here. He's a real great mechanic. I am blabbering my mouth, and they told me not to talk to you. Now, if you put a spell on me, I ask you just make it a good one. Make me good looking or something like that.
At the mention of Hawkins, my eyes light up. So even though I have the bandana covering my face, my eyes light up, and I nod vigorously. But as the dog comes to me, and I crouch down in front of it, and I run my hand along the chrome exterior, and maybe fasten a wire that's come loose in the process. And I don't necessarily talk to it. I guess I try to talk, and I suppose the spell is still effective. And when I don't feel my vocal cords vibrating, I just continue to pet the dog gently, and then I stand again. Or actually, I scratch just on its ribs, trying to make its leg twitch like a real dog.
And the very unsophisticated warforged dog just stands there quietly. This dog just quietly stands there waiting for your vocal command. Whisker said, I'm guessing your voice is going to come back soon. This whole point of this thing. Hey, best of luck to you. I don't know what you did, but anyway. He waves off.
I raise my hands and wiggle my fingers at him with my eyes twinkling.
He pulls out an electric rod and starts to zap you with it in mock fashion, as if he's dueling with this wizard. Mm-hmm. He puts his hand, silly stuff. Old Man Whiskers wanders off, the door closes, and you are left in your room. Asyndeton, in this silence, you hear your heart thrumming, every pulse, every beat. When you close your eyes, you still see the image of that 5-pointed rose petal standing like a warrior in battle. I stand. Is there a window in this room? Yeah, I stand and stare where the window would be if there were a window. I just sit down and make myself comfortable staring off into space. You suddenly feel fatigue and sleep begin to take you. Not knowing what the outcome may hold, but in your experience, knowing that for the most part, Bald Top Library is fair, from what you know. Mm-hmm. How would Asyndeton close out his day?
Normally, feeling pensive as he is, he would do some minor magic, but everything he knows is verbal commands. And so he shrugs. He continues to run his hand down the dog's back. More for his own comfort than for the dog's benefit. And then he settles down onto the floor and he begins to rock back and forth.
Eventually you fall asleep. Without the globe light, without the books, without the responsibilities and the pressures of the next day of work, experience an instinct and a feeling that your life is about to change. And so for now, our story concludes. Every story comes to an ending, so for now we must conclude. Thank you for listening, Sojourners. Your attention will not go unrewarded, and we look forward to continuing this adventure. If you enjoyed this background music and ambiance, you should visit Tabletop Audio. For excellent audio resources for your tabletop role-playing games, visit www.tabletopaudio.com. And if you want to find out what happens to Asyndeton, make sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite podcasting platform. And however you choose to sojourn with us, as always, may your story continue.